The disciples said to Jesus, "What large stones and what large buildings." They were talking about the second temple, the temple built by Herod the Great. Well, not by Herod the Great, it was the people that built it for him. I went to seminary in a smallish town in the northeast of England called Durham. And it is only a city by virtue of the fact that it has this enormous, beautiful cathedral there. Some of you may have actually visited Durham Cathedral. It's, I believe, the oldest, one of the oldest cathedrals in the country. And it's built in sort of this incredible defensive position. There's a big twist in the River Wear, and the cathedral and the castle are built right there. And it was wonderful to be at seminary there. We were sort of literally in its shadow, and to be able to go into that great cathedral whenever I wanted to pray in that wonderful spiritual place. St. Cuthbert, the apostle, missionary bishop to the north of England, at the west end, at the east end, and at the west end, the Venerable Bede, who some of you have heard of. These two great saints resting in that cathedral. The beauty and magnificence of that cathedral, though, belie some of its history. It was the Normans who built Durham Cathedral. They started in 1089. Those of you who are history buffs will know that the Normans came from France in 1066 and conquered Anglo-Saxon England. The Normans were actually Vikings originally and sort of lived in France for a while. And their conquest was brutal. It was brutal, and it took them a while to gradually extend their power northwards. Well, when they came to Durham, there was a beautiful Anglo-Saxon church on the site of the now present cathedral. It was called the White Church because it was built out of white stone, and in the middle there they had buried lovingly the bones of their Saint Cuthbert. Well, one of the very first things the Normans did when they arrived was they demolished the Anglo-Saxon church, and then they decided to build this cathedral on top of it. And it's amazing, it only took 40 years to build the majority of the cathedral. It's been added to in the centuries since. And it was built, I'm sure, for pious reasons, one, but it was also built to make a statement. We are here, and we're going to stay, so don't get any funny ideas about rebellion or, the king over the water coming back or anything like that. We are the Normans, and we are here, and we're here to stay. And so this place of worship was built really as a political statement and as a statement of power and presence. But when you think about it, Durham Cathedral is not unusual, is it? Pretty much all of our buildings, all of our large, impressive public buildings were built to make a statement. The ancient ones, like the pyramids of Giza in Egypt, or the Colosseum in Rome, or the Houses of Parliament, or if you go to Washington, D.C., think about the buildings there. The Capitol, the seat of the Republic. It's pretty big, because this is the seat of power. This is where power rests. And this is where the decisions that affect all of us are made. And so, not surprisingly, Peter, James, John, and Andrew and the disciples, when they visited Jerusalem, and these were people who lived in pretty modest towns and villages, coming to Jerusalem and seeing the second temple, the temple built by Herod the Great. Again, built as a house of prayer, but built in part because it helped to cement his own power and his own credentials. There were many people who viewed Herod the Great as not being really that Jewish. And who was he then to be our king? Well, by building this incredible temple, he was saying, well, I am Jewish. I'm one of you. But he was also saying, I am Herod the Great, and I am here, and this is what I can do, and don't you forget it. And so when people came, yes, I mean, it was awesome, and you felt kind of small and cowed. That's why it was built. I remember some years ago going to St. Peter's Basilica in Rome. Wow, talk about a place of power. I mean, the great forum, the piazza, and the obelisk in the middle brought from Egypt, and then you go up steps and steps and steps, and finally you get into the basilica, which is enormous. And you feel about this big, which is the object, because God is here. What Jesus said, though, was don't be overly impressed. Certainly don't be cowed. And remember, God doesn't live in buildings. And God's kingdom isn't built with stones and mortar and bricks. It was kind of prophetic, Jesus saying, all these stones will be thrown down, because less than 40 years after Jesus' ministry, the Jewish rebellion, the Romans came and literally tore the temple apart. And all that's left now are the foundations. So indeed, it was all thrown down. And the Colosseum is in ruins, and even the pyramids aren't what they used to be. It all comes and it all goes. Even Rome, which seemed invincible, has come and it's gone. And even our own American empire will come and it will go one day, believe it or not. And so what remains? And I think this is the core. This is what Jesus is asking us to remember. What truly remains? Is it the impressive things that we build? Is it the money that we hoard in our bank accounts? Is it the kudos of the people around us? No. None of that really matters, and it comes and goes. What remains is God's kingdom. What remains is God's dream. And that's built not with hands, that's built with hearts and with minds. And whose heart and whose mind builds this temple that has lasted and will last forever? It's you. You are the bricks. You are the stones. You are the mortar. And all will come and all will go. But the dream remains, the kingdom of God.